Good evening, everybody. Hi. So good to see you guys. Welcome to night 3 of Did You Know? Of course, I'm Marche.
And I'm Jennifer.
Jennifer. And so we are so excited that you're here. We're going to go over some housekeeping things and then we'll be ready to get started. But before we do that, I just wanted to take the opportunity to say on behalf of Jennifer, Dana, and I, we are so delighted that so many people have taken part in this. We know we made it mandatory. So y'all are like, we're here because y'all made us be here. But just to see so many people logging on live, it's done, like the last 3 days have been just so amazing. And we expect that tonight is going to be equally as amazing because we have Erin is here tonight from the rapid response team and she's going to present with us. So I've got a few housekeeping things that we need to take care of just so that we get that done. The first thing, and some of you are already doing it, we ask that you would please turn your camera on if you are able to do so. I know some of you all just got off and you're driving, so of course we want you to pay attention to the road, but if you can turn your cameras on, it would be so helpful for 2 reasons. One, we are recording this, and so it's going on our YouTube page because we're fancy like that. We got a new YouTube page, so this is going to go on there, and it also we want the quality of the video to be as best as we can. And secondly, it helps the presenters, i.e. us here tonight because Erin's zooming in from home, but it really helps us engage with you. It's really awkward if you've ever been on this side of the camera to look at a bunch of names instead of faces. And I like seeing y'all houses and your dogs, and your husband occasionally sneaks into the camera, so that's fun too. So we're glad that you turn your camera on. The next thing that we need to make sure is, because we are posting this on our YouTube page, we want to make sure that everyone knows that patient information, past or present or future, no patient information has been shared in the making of this video. None of us are being paid. No companies have sponsored us. We're not particularly advertising or sponsoring or recommending anybody's equipment or medical supplies or anything. We're just doing this because we really want to help our unit in terms of education and quality and safety. And then lastly, this is for teaching purposes. And so that's the only reason that we're doing this. So just want to make sure we get that covered. We're going to do a sound check again tonight, just to make sure that the quality of the sound is good. We know we had a little hiccup last night, but if somebody could give me a thumbs up and let me know this is clear, that you can hear us. Thank you, Christoph. And then I told you about our YouTube channel that we're super excited about. So if you've checked us out, you see the video from night 1 is already posted, and we saw a couple of people went on and made comments to that page. For those that didn't get, if you're on tonight and you didn't get to make it to the last 2 nights, what we would like for you to do is go to the YouTube page, watch the videos, leave a comment, which that way we'll capture your name. So that's basically like attendance for the 3 nights or the 2 nights that you need to watch. And we'll get you added to the attendance. Remember, we're going to make sure that everybody gets paid for this. We are allotting 2 hours. Is it 2 hours each night?
An hour and 45 minutes.
Hour and 45 minutes each night. So it's pretty good for watching the video. So yes. So again, welcome. We're glad you're here. And so we'll go ahead and get started. So Erin is here from Rapid Response. We've got her presentation and she's going to share with us. So Erin, the stage is yours.
Thank you for having me. I'm excited to be here. Are y'all going to share my PowerPoint or do I need to? Here it comes. Perfect. And can y'all hear me okay? Yes. Okay.
Yes, we can.
Okay, perfect. So I'll introduce myself. I'm Erin Burrell. I am the lead nurse practitioner for the critical care outreach team, which is our dedicated rapid response team at Vanderbilt. We just started in January of 2020, and we have nights coming July 1st. Yay! So we're very excited about that. But I was just asked to come and chat about rapid responses and why they're important and what happens when you call one. So if you can go to the next slide. So when you activate a rapid response through LifeFlight, these are the people that will show up to your bedside for your patient. So the first one is an experienced nurse practitioner with critical care experience. And in our original model at Vanderbilt, this was an ICU nurse practitioner who has a responsibility to take care of ICU patients. And so they were basically being pulled out of their units in order to respond to these rapid responses. And when we first started our rapid response system in 2010 at Vanderbilt, we had on average about 700 calls a year. And that's divided between 4 different units because there's 4 different units that respond to rapid responses. And your floor is responded to by the surgical ICU. So the surgical ICU has about half of those calls. So if you do that math, that's about 450 when we first started in an entire year. So it's not a huge call volume. However, now in 2020, we have 1,900 calls in 1 year. So our call volume has dramatically increased, as well as the acuity of patients that we're taking care of here at Vanderbilt as our lung transplant system has evolved and grown, and our cardiac transplant, our liver transplant, our ECMO program, all of these programs are impacting the acuity of the patients, not only in the ICU, but on the floor. And so that's impacting you and the acuity of patients that y'all are seeing after. So the other people that show up are an experienced ICU nurse, and they may or may not show up depending on their availability when we are called during the day. At night, they typically do come. A respiratory therapist will always come, and they're coming out of the emergency department to respond to these. And our team comes with an attending. So our critical care, it's a critical care anesthesia attending who we text the room number to. So while we're walking to the room and getting a report from you and getting a history from you, that critical care attending is in the background looking at that EMR, and then we'll FaceTime with them with the patient and or make a phone call and discuss the patient and the plan with them. And so we're working, when you see us on the phone, that's who we're talking to. It's either that or the primary team, but we're working in collaboration with them to come up with the best plan moving forward for the patient. Currently, our team covers 9 to 8:30 is when we answer calls 7 days a week, including holidays. But like I mentioned earlier, July 1st, we are moving to 24-hour coverage, and we're super excited about that. Next slide, please. So real quick, I want to review the triggers. You've probably seen this posted on your unit somewhere. You may even have a badge buddy with it, but these are your triggers for calling rapid response. But the reason that I want to point this first one out is because it's the most important to me. Everybody can recognize when somebody's breathing too fast or when somebody's heart rate, doubles and now it's 180. But you are the people at the bedside who recognize when something just isn't right. And there's a reason that trigger is the first one, because you bedside nurses at the bedside, you are the eyes and ears of the teams. And you're with that patient 12 hours a day, sometimes multiple days in a row. And we've shown that y'all are a sensitive marker for changes in patients and subtle changes. So I want to encourage you that you don't have to have a heart rate of 180 or a respiratory rate of 6. You don't have to have a physiological change. You can have a change where you say, you know what, something just isn't right, and I want a second set of eyes, and I want a second opinion. And we would rather you call earlier and there be nothing to do than call too late and then we're in an emergency situation. Alma, do you have a question? I see a hand up.
No, I didn't mean to do that.
Oh, okay. It's okay. I just didn't want to overlook you. Okay, next slide, please. So when you call LifeFlight, you dial the 5 1s to activate a response. And they will page out everybody at once. So that's one of the benefits to calling LifeFlight versus calling our cell phone. And I know we get that every once in a while, and that's totally fine. I'm not saying that you can't do that. But if something's truly going on, you think we're going to need multiple hands at the bedside, we prefer that you call LifeFlight because it pages out everybody at once, and then everybody gets that activation instead of us having to page everybody individually. The only person that it doesn't page, which we'll get to in a minute, is the primary team. So we still have to reach out to them to let them know that something's changed with their patient. Next one, please. So you've activated a rapid response. Now what? What would we like to see when we show up? So we would love a computer because we can't do much without computer. We would love for the primary nurse of that patient to stay at the bedside. So you can have a runner go get you a monitor, whatever you need. But we would like the primary nurse to stay at the bedside because you're the person that knows the most about the patient. And then prepare an SBAR, which we'll review an SBAR on the next slide. But prepare your SBAR so that when we walk up, we can get a quick, succinct reason as to why we're there and what's going on and what we need to focus on. Most of your patients are already on monitors because you're a monitored floor, but go ahead and cycle a blood pressure, make sure they're on the monitor. If for some reason, this happened when they got up to the bedside commode and they were off the monitor for whatever reason, just make sure that they're on the monitor and get a fresh set of vitals. Confirm your IV access. This is a big one because if we're in an emergent situation, we're going to want to start pushing meds pretty quickly normally. So confirm your IV access. If you don't have IV access for some reason, go ahead and start trying to place one. And then, like I said before, the primary team is the only person who's not paged in that broad page that goes out from LifeFlight. So just go ahead and send them a page that you've activated a rapid response and they can meet us at the bedside. Next one, please. So this is a review of SBAR. Just because you learn about these things in nursing school and then you kind of tuck them away and sometimes you don't use them very often. So we want to know a brief reason why the rapid response was called. That's your situation. So tachycardia, tachypnea, something doesn't feel right. That's fine too. That does, like I said, it does not have to be a hard and fast physiological change, but just why you called us. When and why the patient was admitted. So most of your patients are going to be surgical patients. So it's helpful to know this patient is post-op day 6 from a Roux-en-Y. And knowing that puts it into perspective because there's certain complications that happen post-op day 6 versus post-op day 2 or post-op day 14. So it's helpful to know where we are and why we're there in the hospital. A current set of vital signs. Or currently, my patient has gone from 6 liters nasal cannula to 100% non-rebreather, and they're only sat in 88. A change in any kind of change that you saw and what that change is. And then any other pertinent information, like the patient was getting up to the bathroom when this happened, or they got a CT scan this morning because they're worried about their abdomen. So you can see the example below. This is Mr. Smith. I called an RRT because he's newly tachycardic. He was admitted on January 1st for a liver transplant. His heart rate's 187 and his current blood pressure is 123/65. He's sitting 94% on room air, which is where he has been. Prior to this, his heart rate was in the 80s and he just returned from CT scan and was complaining of chest pain. So that's a brief, nice little wrapped up bow where we immediately know what we need to focus on and what we need to target. So this is something that I was talking about earlier with our triggers. Early, always better. Always, always, always better. Our team, literally our only job is to support you and to take care of patients that are decompensating on the floor. That's literally our only job. And so we would much rather be called and we look at everything and everything looks fine and we say, you know what? The primary team's doing everything appropriately. I wouldn't do anything else, but we'll keep this person on our radar because they're definitely sick, because that happens. I would rather have that phone call than the phone call that, oh gosh, we have about 5 minutes until this patient codes. We need to roll now. And that happens too. And sometimes, and I'm not saying that happens. Sometimes that just happens because people throw PEs or people have heart attacks or whatever. That's not always the fault that somebody called late, but I would much rather you call early and be nothing to do, then you wait. And we missed our window of opportunity to intervene and to prevent the clinical decline. Because like I said, y'all are the sensitive markers for those subtle changes in clinical status that nobody else sees because they're in and out of the room, but you're there for 12 hours. You know that patient, you know what their normal is. And so we want to encourage you, always, always call early if your spidey senses are going off that something's not right. We would much rather you call and we not have to do anything than the opposite. So after we do a rapid response, we will always come back and follow up with you. If you're still, sometimes it's tough when we get called at like 6:30 and then it's shift change and you're not there. But we will always come back and follow up with you and talk about what went well, what could have gone better. And then we always chart peruse and look and see in the chart if we can find anything that potentially could have predicted this decline. And if needed, do some education and some feedback, some constructive feedback on what we saw that could have been a warning sign that we could have activated this call sooner. And looking at our call logs, I don't know specifically about 9 North, but in our call data, we have about 10% of our calls that met triggers or could have been activated sooner when we get called. So that's a pretty decent amount. And we want to, again, encourage you to call sooner rather than later. And then the last thing we want to think about is what would I do differently next time? What can I do better to take care of this situation the next time I encounter it? But our team, we love 9 North. Y'all take care of some very, very sick patients, and we recognize that. Y'all do an amazing job. But we just want to make sure that y'all know that we love that open relationship and that communication, and we want to encourage you to call as soon as you feel that there's something wrong and you want a second opinion, because we are there to help you and to support you and make sure that patients are safe and well taken care of. Does anybody have any questions? No.
Anybody? Any questions? One thing I will say is when Jennifer and I were planning, Did You Know, one of our goals, and I'm so grateful that the rapid response team was willing to partner with us in this way. I can say, pretty much all of y'all know that Jennifer and I have been on the unit a very long time. And so we've actually seen the progression of the rapid response team grow. It's given us a lot of opportunities to see how processes work here in Vanderbilt in terms of getting allocated resources when you need it. So they first started the program and then they piloted it. We were able to give feedback. We were really able to advocate for them to say, this is a much needed program. So what you see now, this program, it didn't always start this way. And now to even see that it's growing to where it's going to be 24-hour coverage, to me, that speaks volumes of really working a process. Would I have loved it happen 5 years ago? Yes, but the fact of the matter is we're here now. We have a resource, and every day that I'm in charge, one of the best things that I feel like gives me confidence to work with the staff and to lead the unit is to know that I can text and be like, hey, can you do a drive-by? Come look at this patient for me. And I've never, not one time ever felt like they didn't have my back. The second thing we want you all to realize is that because of the increase in acuity that we have on our unit, the number one thing that we get from you all is that the acuity is too much. This is too much for me to manage. I've got 4 patients, it's too much. The open door or the key to getting a patient to a higher level acuity when they have maxed us out, when you can't stay in a room for 4 hours doing interventions and doing this and giving blood and giving plasma and doing this. You can't do all of those things. We can advocate, they can be our advocates to say, this is beyond our scope of practice and what we can do, but we can't skip that step. We have to make that step to get the patient to where they need to be. And if that's an ICU, that's what we want. We got 7 or 8 ICUs here. We want to get the patient to where they need to be. So when we ask you to call a rapid response, it's not because we think you aren't a great nurse or that you can't manage it. At that point, I won't say it's not about you, but it's not solely about you. It's about getting the patient to the right place where they need to be, and they are helping us do that. So we really do hope that this was beneficial for you. And guess who snuck in while we were doing this?
Oh, and she's back there, Nelly.
Yeah. So if this doesn't say support, I don't know what else could really even say that the rapid response team, the people in the orange vest are our friends. We love them. So yes. So if you have questions, please don't be afraid. This is the time and the moment to do it. So please ask a question. I'm sure Erin would, I'm putting words in her mouth, but I'm sure she would be glad to answer any questions that you have. So please take this opportunity to do so if you have a question.
Oh, well, and Marche, I'll say one other thing to dovetail on that. That is part of our job, is to make sure that you're comfortable taking care of that patient. And so that's why we always check in with you before we leave a call, to make sure that you understand the care plan and that you're comfortable, because we don't want to walk away and leave you with a patient that you aren't comfortable with. That's not fair to you, and that's not fair to the patient. So that is part of our job. And that's a huge part of our job, is to support you and to listen to your concerns and to listen to you and to come up with a plan that everybody's comfortable with. And we can be that advocate to get a patient to the ICU. And we have put patients in ICU solely because their nursing care is so intensive that they need a higher level ratio. And so that is a thing. We don't love to do it just because ICU beds, are so precious, they're like gold. But if it's the best thing for the patient, then it's the best thing for the patient. And we're going to advocate for that. So that's a great point, Marche, is that we can be that advocate for you, and we can help you with that transition. And it's also not a failure of you. It's not a failure of the primary team. I always say, if you had a patient who came in for an XLAP and they fell and broke their arm, the same surgeons that did their XLAP wouldn't fix their broken arm. You'd consult the specialist who fixes broken arms. It's the same thing with critical care. When you have a patient who has had a change in clinical status, you need an expert in critical care. And that's what we are. We're the ones who are trained in critical care. And so it's not a failure of anybody. It's just that this patient has had a change in status and they need a consult for somebody who does what they've had a change to.
And one last thing to that, I think we would be very remiss if we didn't mention or just address that we know sometimes when you call the primary team, they do give you a little pushback, or they aren't always thrilled that you are calling the rapid response. And we've even heard nurses tell us, well, the team told us not to. I want to say this politically correct. They can't tell you not to call a rapid response. They cannot. What I will say is we collect that kind of information. We elevate that to Aaron, and our boss, Aaron, and your boss, Aaron. That's his responsibility to elevate those kind of issues and make sure that they get addressed, because we do know, we have to be real, we do know that that's out there. It happens. And so we will address that. We don't want you to feel like we're just poo-pooing over that, because we know that it happens. So when that does happen, make sure you give us the information. We'll veritas it, we'll elevate it, and we'll let them handle it from that side. But you call the rapid response team.
Yep.
And we'll help you.
Yep. And that's true. I can tell you, y'all may not know my medical director. Her name is Dr. Lisa Weaven. She's one of our critical care anesthesia. She's also one of our chief of staff. And she does not take kindly to people telling nurses or any staff that they cannot call us. That there's no nice way to say it, but that crawls all over her. And so she wants a direct phone call immediately when that happens. And she makes a phone call immediately to that person who did it and says, no. This is a patient safety issue. This is not a fault. Nobody's failed. Nobody's taking over your patient, but this is a patient safety issue. And if you are going to tell nurses that they can't call, that is not okay. It's not acceptable. And so she will fight for that. And so I don't want you to feel like, if a primary team tells you not to call and you call, I don't want you to feel like you're not going to be advocated for on the opposite end, because you will. Dr. Weaven will immediately make phone calls to remedy that. So we do know that happens, and we get, attitude sometimes when we show up and primary teams aren't happy about it. But again, it's about the patient. It's not about me. It's not about you. It's about the patient being safe and well taken care of. And that's it. And so we focus in on that. And if there's any more grief, we let our attendings take care of that.
Any last chance? Anybody have any questions? Anything you want to? Running?
Hey,
have
it's
a
Nikki.
Yes, go ahead, Jessica.
That scenario, since we're talking about it, happened like the other week. But on night shift, then what would you do?
So you can still, if you want to tell Marche or Jennifer or your manager, Aaron, they can forward that to me and I can still push that up my chain of command because that's still an issue. And I don't want y'all to feel like you can't call because a primary team is telling you it's okay. So I would encourage you to Veritas it or to email your manager, Aaron, and he can forward it to me and we can get it to the right people.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Hey, it's Nikki.
Yeah, go ahead, Nikki.
Hey, Marche and Jen, can you guys send me the presentations from tonight?
Yes,
Yes.
That would be great. Thank you.
you're welcome.
Well, thank you so much, Erin. We appreciate you and Leah joining us.
Thank you.
Give us, I know night shift doesn't have the benefit yet, but they're gonna love it when they do. Because it really does make a difference to how we feel about the care we can give and knowing we have that team behind us kind of in between. So we really appreciate you guys so much. So thank you, thank you, thank you.
Thank you. I'm honored to be here. We love our team, and we'll be in our little orange vest walking around July 1st. So we're excited to be there.
Yay. All right, thank
Okay.
you.
Bye, y'all. Thank you.
Bye. Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Thank you. All right.
So part 2 of tonight is all about quality. And so Jen and I are actually the presenters for the second part. And before we get started with our presentation, we just want to take this opportunity to introduce you all to our quality consultant. She's our favorite Katie. Katie Bashaw. She's here with us tonight. So if you want to, we wanted to introduce you to her because she's on the unit a lot. And I get people asking me all the time, like, who's that girl with the clipboard? But she's our friend. And so we just want to put a face with the name and give her opportunity to say hi. I know some of the quality team already knows her, but for those of you that don't know her, we want her to introduce herself. She's right there.
Hi, everybody. Thanks for having me.
Yes, yes. Yeah. Oh,
Oh, it's on the bottom now. All right. Is that one? All right.
So non-NOR quality improvement in our presentation, we just want to make sure we give credit tonight. So Dana is on charge on the unit tonight, but she's a part of this presentation as well. Katie Bashaw and Lauren Steck helped us gather all of what you're going to see tonight.
Okay, can you all see the PowerPoint okay?
Yep.
All right, awesome. All right, so you got somebody in, oh, somebody's coming in, all right. So the first thing we wanted to address was like, why is quality important? How does quality impact our patient care? Quality is a word we use all the time, you know, safety, quality, safety, and the two really go hand in hand. Quality is kind of like that overall umbrella where patient safety lives. The quality of our care determines the safety of our patients. Simply put, it is using those best practices, evidence-based practice, which you hear all the time at Vanderbilt. It helps us to ensure that our patients are safe, that they have the best outcomes that we can get for them. And there's tons of evidence-based practice and best practices that we use at Vanderbilt. There was a whole list. We just pulled a couple of them off the list. Things like using the antibiotic impregnated central venous catheters to prevent the catheter-related infections. The appropriate use of antibiotics prophylactically when the surgical patients are, before they go into the OR to prevent infections. Using sterile barriers when we're placing central lines, that's came out of best practice and evidence-based practice. And in use of like prophylactic venous thromboembolisms to prevent them using like our, you know, we give our 3 times a day heparin shots, and that comes out of best practice and evidence-based practice. So there's tons of things we do every day that are part of that, and that all comes from quality research and looking at what's best for our patients.
So evidence-based practice bundles and K cards. We know you all hear us talk about K cards a lot, but tonight, one of the purposes is that we wanted to pull all of the language together to demystify, to like bust up myths and just really give you all the skinny on like why we use these K cards, what they are and why we use them. So the Kamishibai, storytelling. So apparently used in Japanese Buddhist monks in the 12th century. So it's basically like storytelling. So they convey stories with moral lessons to a mostly illiterate audience. And now, well, the way we see these used in our present day, they originally started using them in the automotive industry, and then that subsequently has trickled over into the healthcare industry. And so we're going to talk about that and so it's now used as a management tool for performing audits within a manufacturing process. So of course, K cards are best practices, and these little bullet points here talk about they appear to be efficient, lean management technique that may be useful to sustain best practices. And when you think about lean, you think about streamlining a process, taking all of the fluff out of it and getting to the nitty gritty and those things that really help process improvement. So K cards are practical tools to sustain evidence-based practice and promote communication between leadership and staff, keeping compliance on the minds and front lines of workers. And so tonight you're going to hear us keep talking a lot about like what they aren't. I think it's important for us to tell you what they are and also what they aren't. K cards and K card audits are not an opportunity for anybody to get in trouble. You're not in trouble. We're checking, we're trying to make sure that we are doing the best work and that we're doing the work, we are capturing the work that you're already doing, but we're streamlining it and making sure that we're all on the same page and everybody's doing the same thing the same way. And they also they're promoting sustained and high fidelity implementation of bundles is critical in reducing HAIs, which are hospital acquired infections. What are the advantages of using a K card? So it standardizes the practice. Remember, it levels the playing field, makes sure everybody does the same things in terms of preventing patient injuries. They're a pre-made tool for your improvement use. It's the ability to drill down to frequently missed evidence to determine the root cause of events. So we don't want to just talk about, oh, we have so many pressure ulcers or we have so many falls. We want to really drill down into the information and look at why. We want always asking why. It's like your kids, why? We want to do that too. We want to know why something is happening. And once we figure that out, why or what can we do to help remedy that? And so staff knows what is expected of them. We don't expect for everybody to know everything about all of the patient populations that we care for. We do a lot on 9 North. And so streamlining what we do is our best is beneficial for us so that everybody's on the same page and you weed out all the background noise and all the things that we hear to really, really focus on what's most important. K cards are more than an audit tool. Although we do audit our usage of the K cards, that they're more than that. It's a checklist for staff. If you take a K card and really look at it, if you go down from top to bottom, it's really those most important things all in one little snapshot. You can run that audit, run that K card and make sure that you've got all the things that you need in terms of falls, in terms of catheter care, in terms of central line care or PICC line, or in terms of pressure injuries. So it's like a single snapshot. You can look and make sure that everything's there. And then once you're there, you don't have to, I won't say you don't have to worry about doing anything else, but you can be certain that you have everything that you need when we go by this K card. So here's an example of one. Of course, there's a front and a back. So this one, I can't see, it's really
Falls.
small, but this one's a falls. So if you go down the list, when we do a K card audit, we verify as the patient and the family member, do they understand why they are a fall risk? I think sometimes we get so busy that we take for granted and we're doing the things, but it doesn't translate to a patient. So they see the yellow socks, they see the yellow armband, they see that they've got the sign on their door. They might know that it has something to do with falls because they see the little slippery man on the thing on the door, but they don't necessarily connect the dots. So the number one thing is patient education, family education. We have to make sure that they understand the why. So then you can just go right down this list and read those things, making sure we got the armband. Now we know that armbands don't keep the patient from falling. We know that. But it's just another thing that we do to bring about an awareness, to make sure everybody's all in the know. And so you go down this list. Our hope is that everything when we go down this list is, when we go down, if it's all done, we leave it on green. If we go down the list and there's something missing, remember, nobody's in trouble. That's an opportunity. If we go down and the patient doesn't have on an armband, it's our opportunity to say, whoops, let's get an armband, put it on the patient. If we realize the patient doesn't necessarily understand why they are fall risk, we review that information with them. So it's the cue for the things that we need to do, and it's the hand clap for the things that we like, yeah, we got it right. If we have to turn, we don't have everything, we have to turn the card red, nobody's in trouble. It just gives us an opportunity to get those things in place, because remember, it's about putting the things in place so that we can make sure we're doing the right thing for the patient. We do K card audits. Katie helps us with those. And then as a part of our role as quality consultants on the unit, that's a part of the CSL role, we audit K cards ourselves. And so it's just a way for us to see how well we're doing. Do the staff understand what a K card is? Do they know how to use it? So we have to audit that to see if we're making an impact with it. And we'll talk more about why this has really been beneficial for us. Does anybody have any questions so far? We can't see you because we're in presentation mode. So if you have a question, if you can pull yourself off mute and let us know, because we can't see you.
There's no questions?
I thought it was great.
Okay, awesome. All right, gonna move right along to another thing that we use to try and track our quality. And everybody's familiar with it. When you walk on a 9 North, it's the first thing you kind of see on the wall, big giant board that we call our visual management board. It's the place that Erin wants us to come to at every shift change to do our huddle. Some days we do it a little better than others. But there is actually a purpose to the visual management board. It is a tool that can help us to transform the quality of the care that we give. It's a place where we can see how we're doing. We can see things we need to work on. We can see things we're doing well. It's a place for staff to communicate with us. If we have concerns from staff, we place those up there and we let you know, progress as things, as we find out things. Some things we can fix, some things we can't. But it is actually a tool that can help us. Our K card audits are up there, other things that can help us to see on a day-to-day basis how we're doing. And if we're doing this daily and looking at it, then we have a chance to intervene. If something is wrong, we have a chance to intervene in a real-time way to try and fix the problem. So that's why Erin wants us there every day. It is something we're supposed to be doing, and we need to do even when there's not a CSL there, even when Erin's not there. The visual management board is a tool that is meant to be used at every shift change to kind of help guide the work we're doing and to give importance to the things that we really need to be paying attention to. So, visual management is something that is part of our everyday life. We see signs, we see information, and we act on it. We respond to visual cues in our world, and that's kind of the thinking behind a visual management board. It's a stoplight or a go light if we're doing good. It's a, hey, take a minute and look at this. Just like those things that we see every day in our life, it can be another way for our work life to kind of help direct us and guide us in the work that we're supposed to be doing. So visual management board it's about simplifying the standard improvements we need to make on our unit, or really the whole hospital, but unit by unit. On the visual management board, we're able to define the problem. For us, we're working on pressure injuries and falls. Those are our problems. Our goals are up there. Like, what are we trying to do? We're trying to reduce these. How are we doing? What are the drivers behind the problem? The K cards come into what are the drivers behind the problem? When we're doing our K card audits, are there things we're missing? Generally we do very good with K cards on 9 North. But some of the things that we tend to miss the most are things like armbands or signs. And we know that, like Marche said, those aren't necessarily things that keep a patient from falling, but they help to make us more aware. But if there is something we're missing, that's where we can, what that thing is, so to focus on, which determines that driver of our focus. Where should we be paying attention? Which, like, again, once again, pressure injuries and falls are our biggest needs. There are many others, but that's our biggest needs that we're doing right now. And then, once we kind of identify what our problems are, we try to, do a bundle to fix it, take cards. And every day when we meet in huddle, that's our chance to measure, how things went. Did we have a fall today? We talk about that at huddle. Kind of were there reasons for the fall? We can kind of see what kind of progress we're making. And then if things aren't working and we're not seeing improvements, it gives us a chance to kind of all work together. We really need input from you guys at the huddle. We need to know, was there something that happened that was out of the ordinary? Is there something that, you've noticed that's a trend that maybe we aren't even aware of that we need to fix? So the visual management board is a place where we can take care of those things and all communicate and all know, kind of be working on the same thing because we see it all in that one place. And so it's a lot of different pieces. Vanderbilt's a big institution, and the things that we're working on start at a very high level, and they trickle down until it feels like we feel like we're on the bottom, but I promise we're not, because the work we do is what drives the change. So it's really the most important piece. We can have all the goals in the world. We can have all of the pillars in the world, but if the work isn't being done and being done well, none of that matters. So, the puzzle pieces all have to fit together. We have to all work together to try and make the safest and highest quality care that we can for our patients. And so at Vanderbilt, of course, our goals all start with our pillars. Vanderbilt has 5 pillars that everything we do is placed under one of these pillars. There's the people pillar, service pillar, the quality pillar, growth and finance, and then innovation. And those are like the 5 drivers of everything that Vanderbilt wants to be involved in. And they're what drive us. They're what drive the improvements we try to, put out there for you all. It's what should drive you all to make the improvements that we're, trying to see for our patients. So kind of connecting the dots, we have the pillars at the top, and then based on the pillars, the goals are decided. They're usually pillar goals are kind of high up and they're pushed down. Erin pushes those out to us and to the staff. So when you think about we're about to get ready to do our yearly evaluations, those nursing goals, which are the next step down from the pillar goals, are what we're looking at. How did we do on our nursing goals? Did we reduce falls if that was our goal? Did we reduce pressure injuries if that was our goal? And the nurse's practice comes right between the pillar goals and the nursing goals. That's where the nurses are making a difference. That's where our work comes in. And then those nursing goals, they come down. Those are for the whole house, and then it kind of gets brought down to a unit goal or area goals. And we all have, we get judged in our evaluations as a unit when it comes to those goals. If it was a house-wide goal about reducing something, then it's all of our work collectively. If it's a unit goal about reducing pressure injuries or falls, then as a unit, we rise or fall by the work that we do. So, it all kind of cascades down, and every step is important if we're going to improve the quality of the care that we give our patients. So to come up with these goals is a very complicated process. We just sort of took a couple of the steps. There was some more to this slide that really didn't apply to what we're trying to get across. So we just sort of condensed this a little bit. So it does start at the top with that pillar goal, like a hospital acquired condition, where this one uses pressure injury prevention as an example of how you might go about developing a goal like this. So we know we have a problem with pressure injuries in the hospital. They know because of what they call the lagging indicator, which the lagging indicator is the pressure injury. We see our numbers of pressure injuries. It's the outcome that we don't want to have happen. So that's where we're starting. You kind of start by seeing what the problem is after it's developed, unfortunately. And then we have to ask why. Like, why is this happening? It's our responsibility to see that this doesn't happen. We're supposed to protect and promote the health of our patients. We're supposed to prevent illness and injury. The job of the nurse, to alleviate suffering, and just to be an advocate for the patient, for their families, for the community, population, whatever kind of nursing you're doing. For us, of course, it is for our patients and families. So because we have that responsibility to take care of patients, then we have to ask, how do we fix the problem? So we look at evidence-based practice. At Vanderbilt, everything we do is driven by evidence-based. So looking at what are the things that have been proven to prevent pressure ulcers or pressure injuries. So we look at repositioning. That's one of the biggest things we have to do. We are starting to do turn audits again. We can't overestimate the importance of turning our patients. If we want to keep them from having pressure injuries, we have to keep them moving. We have to keep them moving. Even if they can't get out of bed, we have to keep them moving in the bed. We have to protect their bony prominences. So we have the heel protectors, we have wedges, we have specialty beds. We have, the slippery sheets, things like that, that are to help us protect those areas, to prevent the shearing. The tap system, which our wedges and tap system are kind of the same thing now, but we have to use those on the patients who are at risk. And sometimes the patients we don't even think are at risk. So we got to pay attention to, the skin of all of our patients, even the ones that we sometimes think aren't really at that high of a risk. They can be. And we've seen that a few times over the last year. We've had a few pressure injuries develop on people you wouldn't necessarily have thought it would happen on. So, and then we need to look at the patients who are incontinent, who have moisture issues. We need to make sure we're doing our bathing and getting the patients clean on a daily basis. We've definitely been concentrating on that with the care partners, and they've been doing a great job at making sure the patients are getting bathed and doing the chlorhexidine baths and all those sort of things. And then of course Mepilex is another, like our heel protectors, is something else to kind of help protect the patients. Of course, if they're really, really moist, Mepilex is not necessarily the best intervention, but we need to be looking at what kind of things we need to be doing for each patient. And that's how these goals are kind of developed. And then ultimately we got to look at, what has happened. How are we doing? We do our audits, we use K cards, we see if we're making improvement, we track data. And all of that is just so that we can see as a unit, and then bigger as a PCC, as a hospital, are the measures that we're taking improving. So we work on those. Visual management board, the purpose of it is to see every day how we're doing in those areas and to give us a point of emphasis for the work that we're doing, so that we do great care, but so that we can do even better care. So our shift huddle at the visual management board is an important communication tool, but communication is a two-way street. We need feedback. We need people at the huddle to talk to us. Just us standing up there talking is really, kind of boring from day to day. So we need y'all to get involved. We need to be able to discuss the barriers. What, if somebody did fall, what happened? What was different? Did we miss something? How could we have done better? We need, we talk about our common goals as a unit, and we like to make it fun. We like people to be involved so that everybody's just not, kind of yawning at the end of their shift or looking at their patient assignment for the next shift. We really want everybody to be involved at the huddle. It is an important tool and an area where we could definitely do a lot better, I think, than we currently do at huddle. If we all were a little more involved and participated in and looked at the important things we were supposed to be learning from the visual management board and the huddle. Sorry, I skipped ahead there. So, and that is, I think, about all on the visual management board. So now we're gonna go on to what we are doing on 9 North.
So we wanted to share with you kind of what our response to, because we talked about how those high level goals trickle down to the individual unit and what our response is to that. And so I know you probably have heard some things about this, but again, we wanted to connect the dots. So what are we doing on 9 North to improve quality? So in 2020, the 9 North quality team was created to engage staff and get their input on how we could operationalize best practices on the unit that will help improve patient safety and increase the quality of care we provide. And it also gives us an opportunity to practice shared governance, which is one of the key things here for nursing at Vanderbilt. Like that's one of the things that Magna Status is all about, is about nurses really making an impact and having a say on how they provide the care that we have to do. So our original charter members I listed their names on here. Just wanted to give a shout out to them. You can read their names here. And since the formation of the committee, we've added some awesome people have joined our committee. Blanca Murillo and Case have joined as committee members, and we've lost some people as well. But I just did want to take an opportunity to say thank you to those individuals who started this journey with us. And we wanted to connect the dots and let you know kind of what work came from this committee. So if you heard anything about 4 eyes and 4 hours, and I know that you have because we see you all doing the work, we are so excited about the number of people that come to us and be like, hey, come co-sign this pressure ulcer with me, or hey, I think I see something, but I'm not sure what it is. Come get us. That was 4 eyes and 4 hours was a direct as a result of us coming together and kind of bouncing ideas off of each other and really even saying what's reasonable, like what can we do to really get ahead of the game when we talk about identifying patients that are at risk for pressure ulcers and how do we get ahead of the game with that. The RNS bar report sheet was birthed from 2 nurses that are a part of this committee. So Brianne Page and Katie Whitaker, who's no longer with us, they created that worksheet. It went through a couple of iterations, but that's how shared governance works. That's how this whole thing is supposed to work. We do input, we try something, we reel it back, we audit it, we look at it and see if it's working. What's not working, we get rid of it. What we need to change, we add it, and we keep moving. And then Blake, I think he's on here. He and Carrie and Wendy and all of them worked together to create this new care partner report sheet that was birthed right from this committee. And did you know, literally, Jen and I were sitting in the office talking about how we could really, as CSLs, take what we want to do and what we have envisioned on 9 North and how we want to impact the care that we provide from the leadership side. And ta-da, did you know, came alive, and here you are tonight participating as a part of this. And so, and we have another big announcement that we're going to make at the end of this presentation, but we really did want to pull the pieces together to let you see how we are implementing and making this really work on 9 North. So thank you for that.
All right, so our action plans, the things that we're like actively working on that are driven or that are geared towards improving our quality are our K cards, which is, like we said before, not just about auditing. It's a checklist for the nurses. It's just, you know, the whole bundle for falls, for CLABSIs, for qualities. That's all on that one little checklist, which is the whole purpose of it really is more for the nurse to have a visual checklist of what they're supposed to do, and so that they don't miss anything. We get so busy, it's easy to miss things. Using the visual management board, you can see how we're doing on our K card audits. You can see our numbers. We're going to give you some of our data tonight, just quickly, so we can see how we're doing. But those things are on the visual management board. The huddle, talking about what we're doing, where we stand. We have our hot topics that we're using at the huddles now. So I know we recently had an issue with chest tubes. That was a hot topic. And for hot topics, if you see something that's a trend, we need you to kind of come and tell us about it. Let us know. And if you want to ever present a hot topic, we certainly would love for you all to get involved in the huddle and to talk about something that we could do better as a unit. And then, of course, we do participate in various committees. There is the quality committee, which is just a unit-based committee, but there are also committees in the hospital for like falls, pressure injuries, all kinds of things. And we have various staff members who do participate and have participated in those at different times. So those are the key tactics that we're using to try and improve our quality data. So, and the main 4 metrics that we are really focusing on the most on 9 North are our CLABSIs and CAUTIs, which we have a pretty good handle on those, and we just need to continue that. We generally do really well on those K cards. And then the 2 that are basically sort of our action plan items are our pressure injuries and then our falls. And we are doing a lot of good work towards those. We are making improvements, but that's kind of where our focus is right now and has been for the last several months. But we're going to share with you a little bit kind of how we're doing with that. We're about to present some data here. So, Marcia, you want to do?
So how are we doing on falls? And so if you can see this slide, you can see that I know that high number at the very beginning under July, it looks like a lot, but it's 4. But I mean, that's 4 patients that have fallen. And so of course we want to, anytime we can make a reduction in that, we are doing that. So you can see where we are with March and April. We had 1 in March, 1 in April, and 1 in May. So we are really working towards reducing that. We would love to see that number go down to 0. And the one thing is, we do want to, although we know the realities of what it's like to be on the floor and to see patients, but the reality is it really can be 0. So we just have to keep working, doing the things that we know that we can do to help with that. So we're going to keep working there.
And of course, if we reduce our falls, we will reduce this little brown bar here, which is our falls with harm. And those are the ones that are really, of course, the ones we want to avoid the most. We have had even a rather catastrophic fall with harm in the last year or so. So, you know, patient safety, falls is one of the biggest threats to patient safety. So it's just so important that we really do our best in this metric. And we obviously are making some improvement. It doesn't take a genius to look at this thing and see, yeah, we are doing better, and the work that y'all are doing is really making a difference.
So we thought this was a really good slide to include. It talks about assisted falls versus falls where a patient is by themselves. And if we had to choose which ones we want to have, of course, we want it to be those falls where we are there present, where we can kind of help them to the ground. Any unplanned descent to the floor is considered a fall, but we would much rather be there to assist someone and help them to the floor than them to just fall alone, or we walk into the room and find them on the floor. That's never fun. So then bathroom related falls, you can see we're kind of split down the middle there, bathroom related versus non-bathroom related. That those slides are pretty self-explanatory there. This slide was really good. It's the time of day where falls are most likely to occur, and it's split between day shift and night shift. So if you can see that for day shift is between the hour of 2 and 3 p.m. and then for night shift is between 10 and 11. That's obviously the kind of hot hour where everybody gets up and wants to fall. So that the way this in real time works is there something that we can do between 2 and 3 and 10 and 11 that will help us reduce the fall? What would that look like? Maybe at 9, maybe at 2:30 or 1:30, we can go ask your patient, let's go to the bathroom, not do you, let's go to the bathroom. Let's just peek in and make sure they're not got their legs over the side of the bed. Or at night, let's go in at 10:30 and be like, Miss Jones, let's go to the bathroom before we turn out the lights for the night. We're trying to get ahead of those things, because how many times have we had a patient like, I didn't want to bother y'all, so I just got up by myself to go to the bathroom, and then you fell, and now I'm really bothered. So let's look at ways, this data is to help us figure out what we can do, not to get anybody in trouble. We use the data to help us.
All right, so then we'll go on to pressure injuries. I don't know why these are loading so weird. But This is the slide that shows our pressure injuries from, what does that say? I think it's August. This one starts in August and goes through May that we have had on the unit. And the most we have had in any month was 2. But if you look over here on this right side of the slide, you see April has 0 and you see May has 0, which is awesome. And then we did Marcia and I did the pressure injury survey today, and we did not find any new pressure injuries. The only ones that were there were ones that were already noted and had been charted appropriately. So hopefully this is going to get us to our 3rd month in a row with no pressure injuries. We have been on a pressure injury prevention what's the word?
We've been on
Improvement plan as a unit, but if we can reach this 3rd month, that'll get us off of that, which does not mean that we don't need to keep focusing on pressure injuries, but it does mean that it's evidence of the work that we've done and how things have improved. The 4 eyes in 4 hours, getting our champions in there to look at the skin, and then getting our wound ostomy people up to look at them, taking pictures every Wednesday. Wound Wednesday is a part of that. All of those interventions that we've done have made an improvement, and it's, once again, pretty easy to see when you look at the data. So the work you guys do does matter. Those things that we ask you to do that sometimes seem tasky and annoying, they do make a difference. So please just keep up the good work. And then this second slide, this is location of pressure injuries that we've had in the last, I believe this was the last year. So we've had 1 on the sacrum, we've had 2 on the coccyx, we've had 1 on the heels, and then the buttocks have been the biggest place, obviously. And then the stages of the pressure injuries, we've had one unstageable, but a lot of deep tissue injuries. Some of those they, I think, have developed in the OR, things like that. But and then of course we know we had a couple that did develop on the unit, unfortunately, and those you just never know how they're going to go. But then we've had, I guess, 2 stage 2s. Now we have not had any stage 3s or stage 4s that have developed on the unit, so we've done really well there. And this last little circle, it's a breakdown of the sex of the people who have gotten pressure injuries. And if you look, only 12% of our patients who have gotten pressure injuries have been females. So 88% are males. So that's probably where we really need to focus our attention, is those stubborn men who don't always want to listen to us. So we got to get them out of bed, get them moving, keep them turned, because it looks like that's definitely the bigger risk group right there. So we are doing so much better. Just looking at this data, we have made some real improvement, especially in the last couple of months. And you guys are just doing such wonderful work, and it shows in the data very clearly. So we just want to say, you guys are making a difference. You're doing an amazing job. We are so proud and happy to work with each of you and to have you on our teams. And as always, if there's anything we can do for you, all you have to do is ask, because we're here for you. So,
Yes.
does anybody have any questions? Out of all that we've shared, the data you've heard, any input, any feedback?
I loved it.
Come back up.
You see your faces? So good.
I thought it was great, guys.
Thank
Thank you. Awesome.
We're definitely going to keep our promise and honor your time.
Yes.
So we have our special
Yes.
announcement that
Let
we
me
need
share
to
the
make.
screen.
Yes.
And Jen and Marcia, you guys will send me the presentations,
Yep.
right?
Well,
We got you, girl.
all right.
Thank you.
We have an important announcement.
So Jen and I and Aaron and Dana, we wish we could give you like each of you $1 million, but we can't. But what we can do is just take a moment to tell you, like, in the face of COVID, short staffing, all of the challenges, all of the craziness that is the beauty and the beast of 9 North. We just want to say thank you, and we want to take this opportunity to let you know that although we can't financially reward you, we know that there's a way that we can get recognition for all of the great work that we do on 9 North. And so as a unit, we are going to pursue a Beacon Award. So simply put, a Beacon Award is basically a unit-based magnet. So all of you know about Vanderbilt's magnet designation. The accreditation board that awards that created a Beacon Award in 2003 as a way to recognize units that do great work. And so out of everything that we've shared with you tonight, we've taken a look at it. And we really do think that we have what it takes to earn a Beacon Award. So we are going to throw our hat in the ring and make application for that. It's a pretty arduous process, but we are so glad that Blanca Murillo has decided, and she's going to be our Beacon Committee chairperson. And so you're going to hear more about that.
Hello.
Hello. So you're going to start seeing these signs that placed on the unit. We are committee members that are going to be starting the committee with us to kind of help us dissect the work and see where we need to pull all the pieces together. They are accepting their invitations as we speak. And we want to make sure that you know that even if you're not on the per se committee, everybody is a part of this process and we need all hands on deck. We'll be sharing more information about that. But I will say there's only 2 units in the BUMC that have earned a Beacon designation. One was the SICU and the other is the PICU over in the Children's Hospital. So we could really pop our collar if we earn this designation throughout the medical center. And so I think it's just perfect for us to really get rewarded for the great work that we do, not just here at Vanderbilt, but we're like nationally known. So we hope that you would join us on this journey. Everybody's a part of it, and so you'll hear more information as we move along. But that is the end of our presentation.
So thank you all so much for the amazing work that you do. As Marche said a minute ago, the beauty and the beast of 9 North is a real thing. But the beauty is the teamwork and the people that we work with every day. You guys are so amazing. Today was a rough day. The last few days have been kind of rough, but it never fails that you guys pull together and you support each other. Yeah, I know. You pull together, you support each other. And we can't thank you enough for that teamwork and for just that spirit. That doesn't exist everywhere. So it's something I think that's always been pretty special about 9 North. Even though our staff changed, we tend to be a unit that really does pull together and support each other. So thank you so much. If anybody have any questions about Beacon or anything that we presented tonight?
Before it's all over, you'll be sticking here, Beacon. But we'll be glad when we make the designation. And our YouTube page, we're gonna chronicle our journey. And if you go to YouTube and type in Beacon, you'll see other institutions throughout the United States of how they engage their staff. You can watch videos of them actually presenting, letting their staff know that they actually got the Beacon. It's pretty cool to watch. And so Paige sent us a message to say great job to our sister unit. Yes, thank you so much for that. And we appreciate her joining us tonight. That was pretty big for her and be a part of this last night. So, oh yeah, last night too.
All right, and then without further ado, we have our last door prizes. I think I got everybody tonight, but I'll read the list real quickly. And if I didn't say you, unmute and let me know. I've got Christoph, Carrie is in the room with us, Alma, Angela, Ashley, Heidi, Mary, Drew, Kayla, Ann Cush, Blake, Wendy, Jessica Green, Shasti, Tanya, Caroline, Brittany, Savannah, Cindy, Anna, Blanca, and Bree. Did I miss anybody?
Caroline.
I got Caroline.
Okay.
All right, awesome. Well, Savannah has won a prize both nights, so we're gonna see if she's gonna make it a 3 for 3 tonight.
And we need to rub her back or something. She got the good luck.
All right, Marcia, you want to pick our first
Okay,
name?
okay. Let's see. Who is it gonna be? Who's it gonna be?
Ashley! Yay! Ashley gets a lovely Vanderbilt hat, a baseball cap. So we'll put your name on this and it'll be in the office. All right. Up, Kayla. Kayla Hughes has joined us all 3 nights.
Yes.
So Kayla, we've got a t-shirt for you. It says, "You is tired, you is broke, you is adulting." So we'll put your name and put this to the office. Jayla said you. And then our last prize is our $25 gift card. Carrie, we'll let you pull the name. If you pull your own, you get a bonus point.
Yes.
Oh, yeah, I got to.
Which one?
Anna Schumer.
Anna Schumer! Yay! All right, so we'll put that in the office also. So you guys collect those over the next few days when you work. And
If you seen Jayla, somebody got her lanyard. If you've seen her
Yes.
lanyard, let her know. She won a prize.
yeah, and it disappeared. Anyway, all right. Anything else?
Nope, we'll upload all 3 of the videos. Well, one's already there. We'll do last night, tonight. We'll upload it so you guys can go back and watch it. Thank you so
Yes,
so
thank you very,
much.
very much.
Yes.
We appreciate all of you. Have a good night.
Thank you, guys.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
It should.